What's up YouTube, welcome to another episode of Boss Recap, where we rate boss battles in our favorite video games. I'm your host DMLX, and today we'll be slaying a horde of demons in Doom Eternal, a first-person shooter developed by id Software and published by Bethesda Softworks, now owned by Microsoft. Doom Eternal is the sequel to Doom 2016, and is the fifth main entry in the Doom series, which released on March 20th, 2020. The story takes place sometime after the events of Doom 2016, and follows the Doomslayer once again on a mission to end Hell's invasion of Earth and put a stop to the alien makers' plans in exterminating all humanity. Upon the release of Doom Eternal, the game had some pretty huge shotgun shells to fill, as Doom 2016 was not only praised as one of the best first-person shooters of this generation, but also revived the pioneering Doom series that was thought to be dead in the water, or Hellfire in this case. Thankfully, Doom Eternal was able to build off that momentum of the game's predecessor with a more fleshed out narrative campaign, detailed graphics with a richer color palette, making Eternal play like a shootout in a candy store, as well as stronger level design, another top-notch adrenaline-fueled soundtrack composed by Mick Gordon, and combat mechanics that continue to give Mortal Kombat's level of violence a run for their spinal cords? Personally, after finally beating Doom Eternal's campaign thanks to being available on Game Pass, once again thank you Microsoft, I found Eternal to be equally as entertaining as the game's predecessor and honestly a bit more difficult as well. Seeing that Doom Eternal establishes a stronger emphasis on players constantly moving in combat and exposing weak points on high level targets, otherwise you'll get swarmed and torn to shreds by demons. Especially when going up against those Martyrers. Fuck those guys. Also, I appreciate the developers for expanding the Doom lore by providing the campaign with a stronger narrative focus, and including more cinematic camera shots to better showcase the hell-infested world. Even going so far as to have the Doomslayer speak for the first time in the series, which I'm sure was a nice surprise for longtime fans. Even though the Doomslayer's dialogue wasn't the most articulate to say the least.
Guts. Huge guts. Kill them. Must kill them all.
The fuck? That being said, I do think the bosses in Eternal were a bit of a step down from the 2016 relaunch of the Doom series, which we'll cover on the boss recap for a later date. But for now, let's jump feet first into the Eternal Flaming Satanic Horde and recap the bosses. Now, the way bosses are identified in Doom Eternal is that they are given orange health bars located on the top of the player's HUD, complemented with small green bars that indicate the amount of health bars they have left.
Where have I seen that before?
Additionally, all the boss battles take place in large arena-like spaces and tend to be accompanied by demonic minions as a means to infuriate the player, but can also provide health for the Doomslayer when needed by simply ripping apart the demons with the Slayer's bare hands. The first boss, or should I say the first bosses of the game, are the Doom Hunters, a demon species which is specifically designed to hunt the Doomslayer and his fellow Knight Sentinels during an event called the Unholy Crusades. Doom Hunters are highly lethal demons with a wide variety of attacks that allow them to deal damage at all ranges. They have the ability of limited flight thanks to their rocket boosters, making them hard targets to pin down since they're able to move quickly in multiple directions. Your first encounter with these hovering gremlins is on the level Doom Hunter base, and there are 3 Doom Hunters the Doomslayer must defeat before completing the mission. The first Doom Hunter the Slayer goes up against is by itself in one location, and once defeated, the Slayer must then take on 2 more Doom Hunters at the same time in another location. And after the Doomslayer defeats all 3 Doom Hunters, they become recurring enemies throughout the course of the campaign, but are thankfully easier to deal with. Next we have the Martyrer, first encounter. A resurrected Knight Sentinel who sided with the Khan Maker and the Hell Priest against the realm of Argent-Denur by becoming demons, as well as a former member of the Doomslayer's personal band of warriors. First appearing at the end of the Ark Complex mission, Martyrs have access to a wide range of very powerful techniques that make them one of the most challenging and deadly foes the player will face over the entirety of the campaign. Now technically I shouldn't be counting the Martyr as a boss in Doom Eternal, seeing that during this fight a health bar is not represented for the demonic Knight Sentinel. But with the way this encounter was set up and how this moment in the game plays out, it sure as hell felt like a boss fight, as I was running and gunning for dear life, scoundering for any bit of health I could find, all the while trying to understand the Martyr's insanely aggressive attack patterns. Moving on, we have the Gladiator, the boss of the 8th level in Doom Eternal, Sentinel Prime. The Gladiator is inspired by the design of the classic Hell Knight by Adrian Carmack, but is equipped with additional body armor, wielding a shield and mace for weapons. Personally, I found taking on the Gladiator to be on par with the boss encounters fought in Doom 2016, as this boss battle played out like a true one-on-one fight compared to the rest of the bosses in Eternal. Next up on the Doomslayer's hit list is the Khan Maker, the supreme ruler of the realm Urdak and the leader of the Makers, a highly advanced ancient race of alien beings. Khan Maker is marketed as the main antagonist of Doom Eternal. In-game, the Khan Maker has 6 health bars and is protected by a shield that takes damage like a normal enemy. The shield will rapidly regenerate if it is left undamaged for a certain amount of time. Once the Khan Maker's shield is completely depleted, the Slayer must use the meat hook to get up close and blood punch the Khan to destroy one of her health bars and deal damage. No other form of damage will work on her during this state, and if she is not blood punched fast enough, she will recover and regenerate her shield. Also, the Khan Maker will be flying around the arena to maintain her distance from the Slayer by repeatedly using various deadly beams of light to scorch the ground, all the while being assisted by special Maker drones that will spawn endlessly around the arena that will act as pests to the Slayer, but will also act as benefits to the Slayer if you pull off clean headshots, which will then lead to being rewarded with various ammo. Lastly, we have the Icon of Sin, the final boss of Doom Eternal, where it must be fought in the level Final Sin. Presented as the Khan Maker's last resort in destroying Earth, the Icon of Sin is one of many titans, towering elder demons of the Infernal Age, unearthed from its immortal slumber, with its only purpose believed to be a harbinger of the end of times, as well as an ancient force of chaos and destruction. The Icon of Sin is unquestionably one of the most powerful demons to appear in the Doom series, due to its great size and build, immense strength, durability, and surprising speed, which is further increased by its Maker armor. The Icon can throw flames from its hands and forehead, launch fireballs and a charged, concentrated beam from its head, summon meteors that rain from the sky, and even absorb the energy of demons and Maker drones near it for more power. Ultimately, this is one hell of a fight to cap off the game's finale. By my count, there were a total of 5 boss fights in Doom Eternal. Technically 4 if you don't count the first encounter with the Martyrer. Every boss was defeated on Hurt Me Plenty mode, which is equivalent to standard difficulty for most games. Now you can shame me all you want for not bumping up the difficulty to Ultra Violence or Nightmare mode, but seeing that this boss recap was based on my first playthrough of Eternal, and knowing that my Doom skills weren't up to snuff, I figured Hurt Me Plenty was the perfect difficulty setting based on my experience with the previous Doom installment. Each boss in Doom Eternal posed a great level of challenge and stress that kept me on the edge of my seat, as well as understanding enemy attack patterns that would then lead to exposing their weak points to then having the opportunity to perform the gruesome glory kills. Overall, most of the boss fights in Doom Eternal are worth the price of admission for those that enjoy the constant pressure of enemies gunning for their head, as the difficulty in these boss fights, from my experience, mainly stem from the assistance of lower tier demons helping out the main target by swarming the player like bees, compared to Doom 2016, where the boss fights felt more consistent by having the Doom Slayer solely focus on one particular foe. So, on the tier scale of video game boss fights, I'm giving Doom Eternal a B. When looking at our boss token awards, the Soulsborne award for the hardest boss fight goes to the Khan Maker, seeing that she was the boss I died to the most during my playthrough of Eternal, as her ability to scorch most of the arena with beams of light was frustrating to deal with. So much so that I had to wave the white flag and resort to using the Sentinel armor, which gave me a defensive buff and the edge I needed to beat the Khan Maker after dying 100 times. Okay, it was actually 8 times, but you get my point. The Great Mighty Pooh award for the worst boss fight goes to the Doom Hunters, due to these hovering monsters becoming mixed in with the cannon fodder after defeating them, which in turn made any future encounter with the Doom Hunters less special to say the least, compared to the Martyrs who were bringing the smoke every time I crossed their path. The Bowser Jr. award for the easiest boss fight goes to the Icon of Sin. Now don't get me wrong, the Icon of Sin was still a pain in the Bethesda to deal with, but thanks to the constant regeneration of items like the Crucible spread throughout the arena, I never felt like I was in any real danger of losing on my first attempt. But boy can that Icon pack a punch! The Golden Pickaxe award for the most creative boss fight goes to the Gladiator, as this encounter felt more akin to the boss fights previously displayed in Doom 2016, as well as showcased a wide range of abilities that were fun to engage with and counter to achieve critical strikes. The Ultimate Showdown award for the best boss fight goes to the Martyrer, First Encounter. Even though this encounter doesn't technically count as a boss fight, killing your first Martyrer will make you wish he was a one and done adversary. I mean, the amount of forward pressure this man was putting on me had my heart pounding so hard that I thought there was a xenomorph bursting out of my chest. The Martyrer is one of the most badass and most irritating enemies I've faced in a video game, and I don't even want to know how difficult they are to take down on Ultra Violence, let alone Nightmare mode. And that's the end of the boss recap. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about today's episode, and let me know what games you'd like to see me cover next. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, it really helps me out. Subscribe for more content from me on the boss recap. I'm DMLX. I'll see you in the future.